The CARES Act provided a lifeline for taxpayers and small businesses, but as a one-time cash payment, many fear that it didn't do enough to support taxpayers. For some, depending on where they live, that one-time payment of $1,200 won't even cover a month of rent. If it's personally not enough for you, comment down below. We would love to hear your thoughts on this. Now, while the CARES Act was an important first step, some members of Congress have recognized that it's a one-time payment doesn't provide nearly enough support for American families. To address this, members of Congress have recently introduced two separate proposals. One that would provide Americans over the age of 16 with a $2,000 monthly check for up to 12 months, and one that would cancel rent and mortgage payments through the duration of the coronavirus emergency. Now, in my next video, I'll talk about the rent and mortgage payments cancellation, but in this video, we'll just focus on the $2,000 monthly check and the details that are in that bill and how they'll impact you. Now, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can follow along as things constantly change on a day-to-day basis with this situation. Now, here at Money Growth Academy, we'll do our best to keep you informed as things continue to develop. All right, let's take a deeper look at this bill that would provide consecutive $2,000 monthly stimulus checks for up to 12 months. Now, before you begin thinking that concept is way too crazy and will never get passed, you should know that Representative Ro Khanna and Tim Ryan proposed the first cash infusion plan a month ago, which the administration and Senate Republicans embraced and was actually passed into law with the CARES Act that you see now. So they have some merit as already having passed cash infusions in the CARES Act. So this is something to watch and look for. Representatives Ro Khanna from California and Tim Ryan from Ohio are introducing what they call the Emergency Money for the People Act, EMPA for now. Now, this act, if passed, would provide additional cash payments to Americans who've been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the Emergency Money for the People Act would provide a $2,000 monthly payment to every qualifying American over the age of 16 for, yes, up to 12 months. Now, this would include individuals who were left out of the CARES Act that just went through, such as some high school and college students, and even adults with disabilities who were ineligible to receive the stimulus payments because they were claimed as a dependent on another tax return. So it solves those issues that we're seeing right now with a $1,200 payment. Now, the current $1,200 payment in the CARES Act has exposed a variety of challenges when it comes to issuing money to citizens. This bill seeks to address those issues and make the monthly stimulus payments easier to receive. Now, if you're having trouble, comment down below if you haven't received your check yet. As we've seen, not everyone has a bank or a home address. To address this, the Emergency Money for the People Act calls for individuals to get this money through direct deposit, check, prepaid debit card, or mobile money platforms such as Venmo, Zelle, or even PayPal. Now, of course, everything sounds jolly, but just like the first wave of payments that have been going out, there are still eligibility requirements. So let's go over all those requirements and kind of break down the details of each one of those. So number one, every American citizen or resident age 16 and older as of January 1st, 2020, making less than $130,000 annually would receive at least $2,000 per month. This is almost double what the CARES Act authorized, which was only $75,000. Now, number two, married couples earning less than $260,000 would receive at least $4,000 per month. Once again, this is almost double what the CARES Act authorized, which was $150,000. So this bill creates greater accessibility for more Americans that slipped through the cracks with the last CARES Act. Now, the bill states that the amount of payments specified shall be reduced by 5 percentage points for each $1,000 by which the taxpayer's adjusted gross income exceeds the thresholds that I just mentioned. So simply, for every $1,000 you make above the threshold, $50 will be deducted from your payment. Now, number three, qualifying families with children will receive an additional $500 per child for up to 3 children. If you have 3 children or more, you would receive just $1,500 flat, so it doesn't pay to have more. Now, just for example, a married couple making under $260K with 3 kids would receive $5,500 per month. Now, number four, those who had no earnings, were unemployed, or are currently unemployed would also be eligible for the stimulus even if they didn't file a tax return. Number five, those who were not eligible in 2019 or 2018 but would be eligible in 2020 could submit at least 2 consecutive months of paychecks to verify income eligibility. Now, the Emergency Money for the People Act also expands the program to millions more Americans who are excluded from the CARES cash rebates, as I already mentioned, such as college students and adults with disabilities who are still claimed as dependent. Now, the individual will receive the payment and their parent or guardian will receive the dependent credit. So how does this all work? Well, your adjusted gross income will be determined off of your 2019 tax return or 2018 return. However, as I already mentioned, those who had no earnings, were unemployed, or are currently unemployed would also be eligible for the stimulus, even if they didn't file a tax return. Now, under the EMPA, monthly cash assistance payments would be guaranteed for at least 6 months and would renew for another 6 months unless the employment to population ratio for people ages 16 and older returns to the pre-COVID crisis employment level of 60%. So even if the employment level returns to 60% or above, you would still be guaranteed 6 months of payments. Now, in order to protect eligibility for any of the income-based state or federal government assistance programs, such as Medicaid or SNAP, these payments would not count as income, thankfully. So the language in the bill itself seems to infer with its tax code reference that this would not be taxable income, but don't hold me to that until more information comes forward on that language and more clarity behind this bill. Now, if passed, this bill would go into play 14 days after it passes the House, Senate, and has been signed by the President. So that would put this around June time. So it can move pretty fast, honestly. Now, once again, this bill was just recently introduced. It would still need to be debated within the House, passed by the House, then sent to the Senate, passed there, and then signed by the President. So this is a different bill than the fourth Corona Aid Infusion Congress is currently working on passing this week, which is the interim bill, which has entered its voting phase on April 21st. That bill is geared up providing small businesses with up to $310 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program and includes hospital and testing funding. Now, you can check that video out right here and see us break down that bill and point out the important details of how that will actually affect you. Now, if you're a fan of this bill, you'll want to Google your local representatives in your state and reference this bill and why you believe it should pass. There are a lot of implications that go along with a bill like this and its effects on inflation and national debt. And there are also serious implications to the economy if a bill like this is not passed. So comment down below your thoughts. I would love to hear your opinions. Since Representative Ro Khanna and Tim Ryan co-authored this bill, I'll share their direct thoughts with you guys. So Representative Ro Khanna said, a one-time $1,200 check isn't going to cut it. Americans need sustained cash infusions for the duration of the crisis in order to come out on the other side alive, healthy and ready to get back to work. Members on both sides of the aisles are finally coming together around the idea of sending money out to people. Representative Ryan and I are urging leadership to include this bill in the fourth relief package to truly support the American working class. Now, Tim Ryan said the economic impact of this virus is unprecedented for our country. As millions of Americans file for unemployment week over week, we have to work quickly to patch the dam. And that means putting cash in the hands of hardworking families. Now, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can keep receiving updates about the current economic situation as it develops. We'll be doing a series talking about stimulus payments, new stimulus bills, information pertaining to small business such as loans, and how to survive and thrive as a business right now. Stay safe, Money Growth Academy.